everyone, this is Adil. Today I would be discussing a new topic for you, that is adrenal gland. Adrenal glands are also called suprarenal glands. As I have shown you here, they are located superior to the kidneys. Here you can see the kidney. Superior to it there is a gland which is called the suprarenal gland or adrenal gland. We have two kidneys, so we can have also two adrenal glands as well. Now, there are certain hormones produced by the adrenal gland. We will discuss all the hormones. But first of all, here I have zoomed out the adrenal gland. Now look at the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland has two main parts. The internal part is called as the adrenal medulla. As you can see here in the red color, in the white red color, it's called the adrenal medulla. Let me write here. It's called adrenal medulla. And the outer part, this three-layered part, it is called the adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex. Now, the adrenal cortex has three layers. I will jot down here these the three layers names. You can remember by the mnemonic. The mnemonic is GFR. GFR. G stands for ZONA glomerulosa. ZONA glomerulosa. And F stands for zona fasciculata. And R stands for zona reticularis. Now, zona glomerulosa is this covering. You can see here in the black color. This is the first layer of cortex, which is known as the zona glomerulosa. Now the second blue covering, this is known as the zona fasciculata. And the third covering, it's known as zona reticularis. Now let's see the hormones of these layers. The zona glomerulosa secretes hormones which are known as mineralocorticoids. Mineralocorticoids. In mineralocorticoids, you can take an example, that is aldosterone. Aldosterone. Now, the zona fasciculata, it also secretes hormone which are called as glucocorticoids. Glucocorticoids. You can take an example of the glucocorticoids, that is cortisol. Cortisol. Now also the zona reticularis secretes hormones which are androgens. Androgens. Or we can also call them gonadocorticoids. Also called gonadocorticoids. In these androgens or gonadocorticoids, you can take an example like testosterone, progesterone, estrogen. Actually, in the zona reticularis, there is the formation of prohormones which can eventually synthesize these hormones. We can say also that there is the formation of precursor hormones for the testosterone, progesterone and estrogen. Now, these all hormones are steroid hormones. These all hormones are steroid hormones. These are steroid hormones. As we know, the steroid hormones are synthesized from the cholesterol. Okay, now let's come back to here. Let me rub this now first. If a patient develops the hypotension, that is decrease in the blood pressure, what happens? When a patient develops hypotension in the kidneys, there are special types of cells which are called juxtaglomerular cells. Juxtaglomerular cells. What these juxtaglomerular cells gonna do during the hypotension? During the hypotension. Okay, these juxtaglomerular cells secrete an enzyme which is called renin. They secrete an enzyme which is called renin. What the renin gonna do is, first let me clear you a basic concept here. Suppose this is your liver. Liver secretes a plasma protein which is known as angiotensinogen. This renin goes and it gonna act on it, and it converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Now renin converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1. Now again, this angiotensin 1, let me show you by black color. It goes to our lungs. In the lungs, it is converted into angiotensin 2 by a special enzyme which is present in the lungs, which is known as ACE, angiotensin convertase enzyme. Now look here. Now this angiotensin 2 is available here. Now what it gonna do is it goes to here. Suppose I am putting this angiotensin 2 here. Okay. Now before we discuss further details what the angiotensin 2 gonna do is, let me show you the point here. Here is your adrenal cortex. The outer layer is known as the zona glomerulosa. Now, in the zona glomerulosa, there are lot of cells. I will zoom out one of the cell here. Now, this is the cell of the zona glomerulosa. Now, this cell produces a hormone which is known as the aldosterone. Now, how the aldosterone is produced? Now, let me give you the basic introduction. Here, angiotensin 2, it will come here, it will come down and stimulates a receptor. This is the aldosterone receptor. Sorry, this is the angiotensin 2 receptor. Angiotensin 2 receptor, which is present on the cells of zona glomerulosa. This is a 7-pass receptor and it is G coupled. Look here, this receptor is bound to a G protein. Now this G protein gets activated. when angiotensin 2 binds to here, binds to receptor, this receptor activates G protein. Now what the G protein gonna do is it activates a protein, or we can say it activates an enzyme which is present in the cell membrane. This enzyme is present in the cell membrane. This is known as adenylyl cyclase. Adenylyl cyclase. Now G protein has activated adenylyl cyclase. Now what the adenylyl cyclase is gonna do? It converts ATP into cyclic AMP, cyclic adenosine monophosphate. Now we have a product, cyclic AMP. Again, this cyclic AMP activates another protein which is known as protein kinase A. Protein kinase A. What the protein kinase A gonna do? Before I tell you the function of protein kinase A in this cell, we will please look at here. Here's your hypothalamus. This is your pituitary gland hanging down to a hypothalamus. Okay, in hypothalamus there is a nucleus present. Nucleus is a group of cell bodies. Here is a nucleus. Suppose here are the group of cell bodies, and this group of cell bodies is known as paraventricular nucleus. PVN, paraventricular nucleus. Now this paraventricular nucleus secretes a hormone which is known as corticotropin releasing hormone. Corticotropin releasing hormone, CRH. CRH come through the portal system. It goes through the blood. CRH enters through the blood, this portal system, and eventually it stimulates the cells which are present in the adenohypophysis. Adenohypophysis is also known as anterior pituitary. In the anterior pituitary there are specific types of cells which are known as corticotropes. Corticotropes. Here is the corticotrope. Corticotrope. Suppose this is a corticotrope. This CRH gonna stimulate the corticotrope. Suppose this is a CRH. It will bind to the receptor of corticotrope and will stimulate it. Now the corticotrope gonna secrete a hormone, that is ACTH. ACTH, adrenocorticotropin hormone, or simply corticotropin. Now what the adrenocorticotropin hormone gonna do? Let me show you here. It will come out from the blood and will stimulate a same receptor, that is 7-pass receptor. This is the receptor for ACTH. Now it will stimulate this receptor. Now this receptor gets activated. It is also the G coupler. Again, G protein will be stimulated. What the G protein will do? It will again activate a membrane protein which is known as the adenylyl cyclase. Same pathway. Okay, adenylyl cyclase will convert ATP into cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP will activate protein kinase A. protein kinase A. Okay, now look here. We know, I have already told you that the steroid hormones are synthesized from the cholesterol. Now the cholesterol should be present in the cell. Now suppose here is the cholesterol. Here's your cholesterol. Now the cholesterol is acted by an enzyme. It is converted into pregnenolone. Here is a special enzyme which converts cholesterol into pregnenolone, but I will not mention here the enzymes. Now, the pregnenolone is converted into progesterone. There will be another enzyme which will convert pregnenolone into progesterone. Again, progesterone is converted into 11-deoxycorticosterone. 11-deoxycorticosterone. Now, 11-deoxycorticosterone is converted into corticosterone. Eventually, the corticosterone is converted into aldosterone. Now, this was our final product, aldosterone. Now, there are enzymes in every reaction. I want to mention one enzyme which converts progesterone into 11-deoxycorticosterone. That enzyme is known as 21-hydroxylase. Here is your enzyme, which is known as 21-hydroxylase. This enzyme is very important enzyme, that's why I have mentioned it here. Now the aldosterone is here. I have not mentioned the function of the protein kinase A. Let me tell you the function of protein kinase A. What the protein kinase A gonna do? This protein kinase A, suppose here is the enzyme A. Suppose here is enzyme A, here is enzyme B, here is enzyme C, here is enzyme D, here is enzyme E. Suppose what the protein kinase is gonna do, it comes here and adds phosphate to this enzyme. It adds phosphate. We can say it phosphorylates this enzyme. Again, it also phosphorylates B enzyme, then it phosphorylates 21-hydroxylase. Due to phosphorylation, the enzymes get activated. Again, it will also phosphorylate the D protein, it will phosphorylate E protein, E enzyme. Now all the enzymes will be activated. Eventually, due to these enzymes, the aldosterone will be formed. This was the function of the protein kinase A. This phosphorylates all these enzymes which help to form the aldosterone. Another point which you need to remember is, if in our body sodium levels become low, if sodium levels become low and potassium levels increase, what will happen? This low concentration of sodium into the blood is known as, what we call this, hyponatremia. Low sodium concentration in the blood. Okay, increase in the potassium in the blood, that's known as hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia, that is low amount of potassium in the blood. Remember one thing, this low concentration of sodium and higher concentration of potassium gonna stimulate this cell, and this cell can start again formation of this cell also can start the formation of aldosterone. This was the effect of hyponatremia and hypokalemia. Now we will see what is the function of aldosterone. Now look here. We know aldosterone is a steroid hormone because it is synthesized from the cholesterol. Aldosterone is steroid hormone. It means it is lipid soluble. It can easily pass through the cell membrane. Now let me show you here. It can easily pass through the cell membrane. Here is a cell membrane. Eventually it will enter into blood. Suppose here is your aldosterone. It's aldosterone. Here I have denoted in A. Now the steroid hormones are not able to pass through the blood from one place to another place. They need a carrier protein. They need a plasma protein which can transport them from one place to another place through the blood. But there is a plasma protein which is known as transcotin. Let me show you here. Suppose this is the plasma protein which can bind to the aldosterone, is known as transcotin. Okay, there is another plasma protein, that is albumin. Albumin can also transport the aldosterone. Albumins. Okay, now this is a we can say plasma protein is bound with the aldosterone. Now this will be transported through the blood. Finally it will reach here. Suppose here is your aldosterone with the transcotin. Aldosterone with the transcotin. Now this transcotin gets dissociated and aldosterone enter into the cell. Which cell is this? I want to explain you here. Look, this is the structure of a nephron. This is the Bowman's capsule. U-like structure, Bowman's capsule. This is the PCT, proximal convoluted tubule. This is your loop of Henle. Now this portion, this is known as distal convoluted tubule, and this will be your collecting duct of nephron. Now the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct are lined by special type of cells, as I have mentioned here. These cells are epithelial cells, but they have given a special name. They are called as principal cells. What they are called? Principal cells. Principal cells of nephron. Okay, now look at here. Here I have zoom out one principal cell. Here I have zoom out one principal cell of collecting duct. Now this aldosterone gonna act on the cells of collecting duct and distal convoluted tubule. We can say it will act on principal cells. But remember one thing, the receptor for the aldosterone is not present on the cells of principal cells. Its receptor is present inside the cells. Here I have mentioned the receptor for the aldosterone. Suppose aldosterone will come, and suppose the aldosterone, it will bind to the receptor. Now there is the formation of hormone receptor complex. Hormone receptor complex. Hormone receptor complex. Now, what this hormone receptor complex gonna do? We know we have a nucleus in the cells. This is the nucleus. Inside the nucleus, we have a DNA. So this is the DNA. This is the DNA here. Okay. Now, this hormone receptor complex enter into the nucleus and stimulate the DNA and get bind with the DNA. Here is your hormone receptor complex. Let me show you here. It gets bind with the DNA. Now the DNA gets converted into, or we can say the DNA undergo transcription, and there is the formation of mRNA. DNA is transcribed into mRNA. Now from mRNA will go to ribosomes. There will be formation of proteins. But these proteins have given a special name. They are known as aldosterone induced proteins. Aldosterone induced proteins. It's not only the one protein which is formed. There are different kinds of proteins which are formed here. Now let me tell you what these different kinds of proteins gonna do. In the collecting duct, in the luminal membrane of the collecting duct, there are some channels. Let me show you here one channel. This channel is inactivated channel. Through this channel nothing can pass because it is closed channel. Now look at here what the aldosterone induced protein is gonna do. Some proteins go to here and bind to and phosphorylate these channels. These channels are actually the protein molecules. When these channels get phosphorylated, they get converted into, let me show you here, they get activated. Now through this channel, okay, there will be any material which can pass through the channel. Now it is activated. This is activated channel. Okay, these are actually the sodium channels. This is the sodium channel. But it is inactivated. Now this sodium channel is activated. It is activated by the aldosterone. This was the first function of aldosterone induced proteins. Also, aldosterone induced proteins are also some channels which are actually the sodium channels. some sodium channels. Let me show you here by blue color. Some channels. This is the sodium channel. It is actually the aldosterone induced protein. It goes to luminal membrane of the collecting duct, and it is planted here. This is the sodium channel. Sodium channel. Okay. Again, there is the formation of aldosterone induced proteins, which are actually the potassium channels. Let me show you here. This is the potassium channel. Potassium channel. Okay. Now look at here. There is the formation of also another kinds of proteins which are very, very, very important. What are they? Let me show you here by black color. This is the protein. I have drawn here. When this protein is formed here, this is also the aldosterone induced protein. Then what happens? This protein gets planted into the membrane of the cell, membrane of principal cell. Now what will happen? Which protein is this? It's called the sodium potassium ATPase. Sodium potassium ATPase. Let me write here. Sodium potassium ATPase. Sodium potassium ATPase. Okay. Now this sodium potassium ATPase, it is depend on the ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It cannot work without the ATP. Now what it's gonna do? It actually through this pump, or we can say through this ATPase pump, 3 sodium goes out and from the blood 2 potassium come into the principal cell. Okay, now look at here. What is the function of these channels now? Look here. Through the urine, in the urine there will be a sodium. There will be a lot of sodium. That sodium should be reabsorbed back into the blood. Now, suppose here is your sodium in the urine. So sodium, there is a lot of sodium into the urine. Now this should be reabsorbed back. Who will reabsorb? Who gonna reabsorb? These sodium channels. These sodium channels will reabsorb sodium. Okay, this sodium channel also gonna absorb sodium. Okay, now what the potassium channel is gonna do? As I already told you, there is the hyperkalemia. Now from the blood, the potassium will enter into the cell. There will be a channels, potassium channels also here. Potassium channels from the blood. The potassium will come in, or potassium can also come through the sodium potassium ATPase. Sodium potassium ATPase. Now the potassium will come out. Now the potassium will come out from the principal cell. Here's your potassium. Now this potassium will be excreted out through the urine. It will be excreted out through the, here's your urine. Okay. Now again, now here, your sodium is now here. This sodium will be pumped out. Suppose here are also sodium channels. It's the sodium channel. This sodium can enter into blood. Here is your sodium. it will enter into blood. Or the sodium can go through the sodium ATPase, sodium potassium ATPase pump, and will enter into the bloodstream. Now look at here. Here was the hyponatremia, low concentration of sodium into the blood. Now the sodium is increasing in the blood. Now the sodium will be normalized in the blood due to the aldosterone. Look at here. There was the hyperkalemia, increase in the potassium in the blood. Here the potassium is coming back into the principal cell. From the principal cell, the potassium is coming into the collecting duct. From the collecting duct, it is excreted into the urine. Okay. Here one point I want to mention, that water always loves to go with the sodium. Water will also enter into because sodium is entering from the principal cell into the blood. Also water will go from the principal cell and will enter into the bloodstream. Now, as you can see here, there was a hypotension, and the renin was secreted. Then there was the formation of angiotensin II. Then eventually there was a release of aldosterone. What the aldosterone does, it reabsorbs here the sodium. With sodium it absorbs water also. Now we can say the volume of the blood will increase. There will be hypervolemia. What the hypervolemia gonna do? There was a hypotension. Due to hypervolemia, higher amount of volume of blood, it will normalize the blood pressure. It will increase blood pressure. Now our blood pressure will be normal due to the aldosterone. Okay. Now one thing also want to explain here. If there is hypertension, increase in blood pressure. During the hypertension, our atria gonna produce a peptide which is called atrial natriuretic peptide, ANP, atrial natriuretic peptide. Okay, now look here. Here are the receptors. These are also 7-pass receptors, but they are coupled with the G inhibitory. These are coupled with the G stimulatory proteins. This is coupled with the G inhibitory. What this G inhibitory gonna do? It will activate some proteins which eventually will inhibit the aldosterone formation. Aldosterone formation will be inhibited. Aldosterone will be no more produced during the hypertension. This was